Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. This is Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Live on tape from Bolero Roswell in Roswell, Georgia. This is Coach Randy welcoming you to episode 110 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, the 2019 Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout. Every year at this time, as families give thanks for all they have and for each other, we give the kids a chance to bowl for turkeys. And I'm not just talking about 3 strikes in a row. Today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, 4 doubles teams will compete for frozen turkeys. The Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout is open only to our Roswell Varsity and Roswell Junior Varsity bowlers who opt in. We used their 3 league games, and they got to throw out their low game. So we totaled up just their 2 best scores bowled on this day, plus their league handicap ×2, since we used 2 games. That was their entering score. We took the top 4 kids from the Roswell Varsity and the top 4 in the Junior Varsity and paired them up into doubles teams. And today, they'll bowl a modified Scotch Doubles format in our stepladder finals. We had a tie for 4th place in the Roswell Varsity, so before we introduce our teams, we first have to break the tie. The tie was between Alyssa Harding and Charles Bostic. They've each had 2 practice balls on each lane of the TV pair, and we gave each player their choice of lanes to throw their first ball on. They both chose the left lane. So we flipped a coin, and Charlie had the option and elected to let Alyssa go first. So here we go. 1 ball to determine which of these 2 will be paired up with their junior varsity partner as the 4 seed. And Alyssa finds the swish area and rips the rack. Charlie told me as we were getting ready for this roll-off that he hates roll-offs. He's going to need a strike right here if he wants this roll-off to go to a second frame. But no, he gets 9. So it's Alyssa who advances to the stepladder finals. So now that we know who's in, let's meet our 4 teams who will be bowling for turkeys today. Qualifying in the 4th position is Alyssa Harding and Margot Gordon. Alyssa just made her first appearance on Prodigy a couple of weeks ago on our Halloween show. And Margot is making her first appearance of the 2019-20 season today. They'll face our number 3 qualifiers, Nolan Kemp and Marquise Burrell. You know Bolin Nolan, as he's a regular on Prodigy. And you've seen Marquise before. He nearly ran the stepladder in our League Tournament of Champions back in 2018, but came up just short, finishing 2nd. The winner of that opening match will face our number 2 qualifiers, Hunter Moffat and Jake Malick. Hunter is a regular on Prodigy and is the varsity member of this team. And 2 years ago, Jake and his partner that season, Jake Bowling, won the 2017 edition of the Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout. Now, the winner of that second match will bowl for the championship today against our tournament leaders, Anthony Smiga and Josh Greenberg. Anthony dropped a little 256 on everybody during league today to leapfrog past everyone to the top spot in the varsity. And Josh bowled games of 166 and 146 to get to the number 1 position in the JV. And that's our field today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. As I mentioned earlier, they're bowling for frozen turkeys today. Specifically, the winners will each receive a big honkin' frozen Butterball premium turkey. The runners-up will each get a frozen little Butterball. The 3rd place finishers will each receive a frozen Butterball turkey breast, and our 4th place finishers will each leave today with a tiny little Cornish hen. They're bowling on the house shot today, and this is a handicap contest, so each team will receive a handicap equal to 1/2 of their 2 league handicaps. Let me explain. Here in the first match, Margot's single game handicap is 72, so half of that is 36. Alyssa's single game handicap is 56, and half of that is 28. 36 plus 28 is 64. That's their handicap. Marquise's single game handicap is 66, and half of that is 33. And Nolan's single game handicap is 5. Half of that is 2 when rounded down to the whole number. 33 plus 2 is 35. 64 minus 35 is 29. So the team of Alyssa and Margot will be getting 29 pins in handicap differential. We'll add that into their score in the first frame, so you don't have to add a thing. Each team gets to decide which of their members will throw the first ball on the right lane and which one will throw the first ball on the left lane. The 2 teammates will take turns throwing the first ball in each frame. Usually we see the varsity player opting to throw the first ball in the even-numbered frames so they can throw the first ball in the 10th, but it's entirely up to each team to decide that. And the higher-seeded team, in this case Nolan and Marquise, get to decide which team will start the match, and they've opted to let the girls lead off. And it appears that Alyssa and Margot have decided to let Margot throw the first ball in the odd-numbered frames. So, here we go. Margot with the two-handed delivery. She shoves it off her chest, sort of like a basketball pass. USBC refers to that as the two-handed delivery. She leaves the 2-4-8-10, which can be made if you can hook it a little bit at the left side of the 2-pin. Alyssa will give it a go. Well, she got the 8. That's one of the tricky ones you got to get. Now, they got 7 out. We have added their 29 pins of handicap in the first frame. And Marquise finds the pocket on his very first toss and puts a strike up for his team. Watch this. Last time you saw him, he was bowling one-handed. He's gone to two-handed, and it looks like it's working out for him. And the ball actually gets the 10-pin. That's what happens when you throw a light ball. All right, Nolan. In the pocket, just a little high, trips the 4. And Marquise and Nolan get off to a fast start with a double. Watch this. Nolan. Straight up 10 over the second arrow. A little bit high, but gets the 4 to go. All right, Margot and Alyssa up by 6. And Alyssa finds the pocket with the first ball in the second frame, but she leaves the 10-pin. And now this is what I like to see. The big kids trying to help the little kids, coach them up a little bit. Tells her to move to the left and shoot cross lane at the 10. Well, and that's what she does, but she gets it just a little wide, and into the moat it goes. So an open frame. And now the boys with that double in the first and second up against a couple of opens by the girls, and Marquise and Nolan have the lead. And what a terrible break. Margot hits in the Brooklyn pocket, and the 7-10 split remains. Well, now I have a standing bet with the Junior Varsity kids in our league. If they make the 7-10 split, they win my car. Of course, I don't tell them which car. It might be one that's bought from a toy store. But instead, she gets the field goal. That's another open frame. So Marquise and Nolan see their lead grow to 17 as Marquise moves to the right lane. And that could have been a strike. He hits in the Brooklyn pocket, and only the 10 remains. So Nolan goes to another rack over to the left to grab his spare ball for this one. And he misses it. So that'll tighten the match a little bit. Now just 4 pins separating these two teams. And there's a slight scoring error in the bowling center. That's what's being keyed in there. And I think with all the hubbub up by the lanes, it may have distracted Nolan just enough that he decided to back off, reset, and start over. Good move. A really good move. And a good shot. So Nolan, 2 shots on lane 39, 2 strikes. Here's his footwork. Simple 4-step approach. And that's high flush, 10 in the pit. Alyssa just a little wide with that one. It doesn't quite make the turn to get back. And she leaves the 2-4-5 for Margot to try to pick up. Margot starts at the very back of the approach, takes 7 quick steps to get some forward momentum, and makes the spare. And she gets a round of applause. Much deserved. So a spare for Margot. And now she'll throw the first ball here in the 5th frame. She gets just a piece of the head pin, mixes them up, and leaves the 6-9 for Alyssa to try to convert. Go cross lane at it. Oh, she sends it a little too wide, and it never recovers. And that's another open frame for Margot and Alyssa. So the lead is 18 for Marquise and Nolan as Marquise gets up on lane 40. Well, now that's what I call covering boards. Marquise looks a little surprised at how that ball hooked the whole width of the lane, but he's playing a little far outside. Even throwing plastic, he can get that ball to hook with that two-handed style. And he puts pretty good turn on it. But that's how you recover right there. They were on a strike, so they don't lose any count. That was as good as 9 spare. And now Nolan moves over to the left lane. See if he can't put another strike on the scoreboard. Yes, indeed. He's like a machine over there. 3 balls on lane 39, 3 strikes for Nolan. So, Alyssa back up on the right lane. Oh, once again, it doesn't quite get up. This time, she pays the maximum penalty for a light hit. Leaves the 210. Let's see if Margot can show us a trick shot here. Well, unfortunately, that ball backed up to the right. So 8 out, and the lead grows to 30 for Marquise and Nolan. Spares, spares, spares. Well, they ought to be able to get one here, as Margot finds the Brooklyn pocket and leaves just the 9 pin. And Alyssa has no problem with it. So there's a mark. You never know what's going to happen in these matches. When you're bowling with a partner that you're not used to bowling with, hard to get into a rhythm. There's the 1-3-9 as Marquise crosses over, misses the head pin on the left. He would do well to move his feet a little farther left and play more in the oil. The 1-3-9, make it like this. You want to hit in the light pocket. You don't want to hit too high in the pocket or you'll run by the 9. Just like that. That is perfectly done. So Nolan will move over to the left lane, where he is a perfect 3 for 3 so far this match. Hasn't missed striking yet. This would be a good time to get another one. And he does. Gets the light shaker to go this time. Watch it again. Gave it a little extra loft. That'll delay the hook. Comes in thin. Head pin goes to the left wall and mixes them up. Well, Alyssa trying to do the same thing. She came in a little too thin to get that kind of pin action, and she leaves the 2 pin. Actually sent the head pin in front of the 2. But Margot, see what you can do with this. Wide of the mark this time.
Okay, Margot, you throw the first ball on the left lane.
See if she can redeem herself here in the 9th. How about it? And she's all smiles. Watch it again. She takes 7 steps. That's to get a little extra momentum going forward so she can generate all the ball speed possible. And actually, Marquise could learn from that. See how he finishes a good 3 feet behind the foul line. He could use a little more ball speed, maybe take a couple extra steps. Here's the 1-3-5-7-9. I bet you haven't seen this one since you were maybe Marquise age. The good news is, on a perfect strike, the ball only hits 4 pins, the 1-3-5-9. But Nolan just needs to throw a strike ball. But he's wide with it. You got to hit the pin in front on all spares. And so there's an open frame, and well, it's still possible that Margot and Alyssa could catch him. They've got a possible 175. That means Marquise and Nolan are going to need a mark here in the 10th to shut out Margot and Alyssa. And this time, Nolan's perfect streak of strikes on lane 39 is snapped, and he leaves the 7-pin for Marquise, who needs to make it to set up his partner. And there it is. That's a big-time spare for Marquise. And now Nolan needs 3 pins on this ball to shut out Margot and Alyssa. And that'll do it. It's a 183. The best Margot and Alyssa can do is 175, so it's going to be Marquise and Nolan who move on to match 2. Alyssa a little wide of the mark with that one here in the 10th frame, but it's all academic. They're just going through the motions of finishing out the game to get a final score. And Margot a little wide on that one, so they're going to finish with a 139. Nolan and Marquise have won match 1 and will face Hunter Moffat and Jake Malick in match 2 when we return.
Wow! Right down the alley. That's where the ball goes when Mary's doing the bowling. And it looks like her boyfriend Tom knows a few bowling tricks too. You see, they both know the score about what helps build stronger muscles, bones, and teeth. And does that mean Kellogg's Pep? You bet it does. Yep. Pep has more builder-upper food values than any other wheat flakes. More vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin. More vitamin B1. That's why there's no other cereal like marvelous multi-flavored Kellogg's Pep. So if you want to build up strength and energy, eat the build-up wheat cereal. Day after day, enjoy Kellogg's Pep.
And we're back to the action here in Indianapolis. Another strike by Gilbert. Brian Latt needs to be perfect here. Seems to be a slight delay.
Oh, my!
Not the official tools of bowling. The official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears.
We're through one game of the championship round stepladder finals at the 2019 Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout, and Nolan Kemp and Marquise Burrell took care of business against Alyssa Harding and Margot Gordon. But no one leaves the Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout championship round empty-handed, and the girls will each receive one of the tiny little Cornish hens, which I'm told are really tasty. Now we come to match 2 with our number 2 qualifiers, Hunter Moffat, whose single game handicap is 19, which, when divided by 2, comes to 9 once you round it down to a full number. And Jake Malick, whose single game handicap in the Junior Varsity is 48, half of which is 24. 9 plus 24 is 33. That's this team's handicap. And we recall from the previous match that Nolan and Marquis' team handicap is 35. So there's a 2-pin handicap differential this time. Nolan and Marquis will be receiving 2 pins, which will add to their score in the first frame, so you don't have to add a thing. Marquis now bowling on the left lane, and looky here, he's moved left with his feet, playing more toward the center of the lane. I think that's the right way to play this lane. He's got a plastic ball. It's not going to hook a lot off the oil, and he's left a 4-5-7 for Nolan. This a very difficult split. It's not enough to split the 4-5 with the ball. You've got to favor the 4-pin slightly if you want to get the 7. There is almost no margin for error on this. Well, he favored the 4-pin, but a little too much, and leaves the 5. So an open frame. Now that's 9 out for them in the first frame. We've added their 2 pins of handicap differential, so they have 11 in the first. Now, Jake Malick. Ooh, just missed the head pin. He leaves a variation on the washout, the 1, 2, 7, 8, 10. It isn't really any more difficult than just the regular garden variety washout. Just throw the 1 pin over into the 10. But Hunter hits the wrong side of the head pin, and that's no good. So they're 8 out in the first frame, so neither team can get a mark in the opening frame. Now Hunter, who's bowling in the varsity league this year. And he too can't find the head pin with his first ball, and now he leaves the garden variety washout for Jake, the 1, 2, 4, 10. You shoot it the same way you would have liked to have shot the first version of the washout. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin. The ball will get the 2-4. Throw the head pin over into the 10. Or you can throw everything over to the left wall and get the head pin to come back like a messenger. Watch this. Very unusual way of making the washout. The head pin will go to the left wall, and here it comes. We don't recommend that method, but hey, you take it in competition. And it made Jake pretty happy. Marquis and Nolan, not so much. All right, Nolan up on the right lane. Comes in a little thin and leaves a cluster for his partner. Marquis will go for the 2, 4, 5, 7. Didn't give it enough room. And so he hooks by the front pin. On all spares, you've got to hit the pin in front. That's the key pin on spares. Oh, what a break. He had all kinds of split combinations there. He had the 3-4-9 for a little while, then the 3-4, but now it's just the 3. And Nolan inexplicably whiffs it. And he can't believe it. So 3 open frames to start the match. Jake and Hunter with 1 open frame in the first 2. Jake has practically grown up in our youth bowling program. He was just a little kid the year I started coaching, back when it was Brunswick Zone Roswell. Now Hunter for the 1-3-6. And he can't get the ball to face up and get to the head pin. So 6 frames, 5 opens. I'd like to think we do a better job of coaching these kids than they're showing. Hunter rips the rack. Now there's a mark. Over the 4th arrow, out to about 12. I actually think he's playing a little deeper than he needs to. But that one worked just fine. And that time, Nolan gave it a little extra loft, delayed the hook, and caught the swish spot. Watch the 5-pin, the one in the middle of the rack. It's going to whistle over into the 7. Takes out the left side of the rack. That's a power strike right there. Well, this time Marquise borrowed a little more than he needed. And here's the 1-2-8-9. Couple ways of making this. You can put the ball on the right or the left of the head pin, but I recommend hitting on the left side. Knock the 1 back into the 9. The ball will get the 2. The 2 will get the 8. Oh, he hit the right side of the head pin. You've got to be a little lucky when you hit the right side. Watch what happens. The head pin is going to go in front of the 2 and knock the 2 straight back into the 8. He got away with it that time. Well, Jake breaks up the washout this time. The 10 goes down, and he leaves Hunter just the 1-2-8. This is decidedly more makeable than the 1-2-8-10, but he's still got to be careful with it. More careful than that. And for some reason, Hunter's just having a hard time getting the ball to get up to the head pin. This pair is a little slicker than the practice pair. A couple of pairs of lanes over to our left, but that's because this pair was fresh when we went on. He goes high, leaves the 6-10. The practice pair, a couple pairs down, has had more play on it. All right, Jake for the spare. And 2 wide. So an open frame, and that'll hand the lead back to Marquise and Nolan. And we're just not seeing very good spare shooting this match by either team, to be honest. We stress spares all the time. But every once in a while, get a little out of your rhythm. And when you're bowling Scotch doubles, especially when you're bowling with a doubles partner you're not used to bowling with, it can throw you out of rhythm. Light again. And so Marquise will get another crack at the 2-4-5. He missed on the left last time. Let's see what he can do with it this time. Gave it a little more room to the right, and that's perfect. Well done. So they have 3 marks in a row, and that's big in this match. So Marquise will move over to the left lane. That was a pretty good shot right there. Remember, he's throwing plastic, so it's not going to come storming back, driving through the pins like a reactive ball would. And it's a light ball to boot. Nolan has no trouble with the 5-pin, so they have 4 marks in a row now, and the lead is 16. Jake and Hunter need to get busy. Uh-oh. Well,
Come on, Hunter.
you can see sometimes Jake will swing it out away from his body in his backswing, and when that happens, it's going to go right to left on the through swing. Hunter high with the second shot, so that's another open frame, and they've got it in reverse. There's a solid strike by Hunter in the 8th, and that'll give him a chance to make a little run here at the end. As Nolan is now up on the right lane. Jake and Hunter can still shoot 165. So this ain't over yet. Well, the wall shot didn't quite get the 7. So Marquise will need to cover the spare here. And he made that spare in the first match to basically wrap things up. This time it goes in the gutter, and the lead shrinks to 17 as a result. So like I said, Jake and Hunter still can shoot 165. Marquise and Nolan going at a 152 pace. Brooklyn hit, he leaves the 1-3. You would think Nolan wouldn't have any problem with the 1-3. Being that they are the 2 pins, he tries to hit on every strike ball he ever throws. Just about make that in your sleep, I would think. But now here's the biggest shot of the match. Jake has a strike up from Hunter. If he can put a strike on the board here in the 9th, he'll cut the lead to 7. But he's left with it, and he leaves the 1-3 for his partner. And now they're running out of chances. Hunter's got to get to the head pin this time. He covers the 1-3, and now the situation is this. Jake and Hunter, with 3 strikes in the 10th, would shoot 145. That would force Marquise and Nolan to mark. Hunter can't get the 10 to go, so they're going to max out at 134 if Jake can make this 10 pin.
Good ball.
And he gets it. So it's still mathematically possible. Perhaps unlikely, but still in the wood, as they say. And Hunter shreds the rack on his last ball just to say, you know, I haven't forgotten how to bowl. 134. So the situation is this: if Nolan gets 6 on this ball, he locks his team into a tie. 7 on this ball, and they win.
7 will do.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Or I guess turkey dinner in this case. So that gives him 142 if Marquise and Nolan throw the rest of their shots in the gutter here in the 10th, which I don't think they'll do. There's an 8 count, so they're going to be in the 150s. And that will be more than enough to send them on to the championship match. And Nolan misses them both, but that's okay. 150 to 134 is your final score in the semifinal match. Nolan and Marquise are bowling for the meat, the big meat, against Anthony and Josh. Our championship match is coming up.
If you're really serious about becoming a better bowler, be sure to ask your pro shop about some great new ways to improve your game. A great new video, Dick Weber's Guide to Better Bowling, filled with expert advice that'll help you perfect your technique and develop better shot-making strategies. Here's a sample.
Of all the steps you can take to become a better bowler, none are more important than the 4 or 5 steps you take on the approach to the foul line. Let's look first at the 4-step approach.
The 4-step approach is favored by many recreational and league bowlers, as well as some pros. If this is the approach you find most comfortable, practice it over and over until it feels completely natural.
Also, ask your pro shop about 2 great new bowling balls designed specifically for league bowlers, the Dick Weber Legacy and the Dick Weber Legacy Reactive from AMF. The advanced technology of these bowling balls, adapted from the designs used by the pros, will help make you a better bowler. The Dick Weber Guide to Better Bowling video and the Dick Weber Legacy and Legacy Reactive bowling balls, available at your pro shop.
And now, it's time for the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tip of the Week.
Look who stopped by to bowl with us today. Except our Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout is just for Roswell League kids, and, well, Emily Reddig, she's bowling with Louisiana Tech. She's not in our league. But we were so glad to see her today and to wish her happy Thanksgiving, her and her family.
Happy Thanksgiving all.
Absolutely. And I asked her if she would give us a little bowling tip today.
For sure.
And, you know, how long have you been bowling now?
I've been bowling completely, I would say, about 10 years. But I didn't get serious about it until I was 12, so that would be about 6 to 7 years.
Okay. And you went from, what did you average your first year?
I don't even know. Like 120, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't even know.
Well, you got better.
Yeah.
You got a whole lot
Yeah.
better. So, what are you averaging now? You're probably not even bowling on a house shot anywhere.
No,
You're just bowling a
definitely
sport
not.
shot.
In college right now, for our first 4 events, I've been averaging right around 188.
Okay. But
Or
that's on a
not.
sport shot.
Yes.
And those college patterns are not playing around.
No,
Those
they're
are
not.
tough sport
They're
shots.
difficult, for sure.
So, all right. But today you were bowling on the house shot, just practicing here while we were taping Prodigy.
Yeah.
And what kind of scores did you shoot today?
Well, I did some Baker with Charlie and Logan, and we had scores. We had like a 180, we had like a 265 with the front 9. We're just also practicing with drills and all that, so we didn't shoot for score every game either.
So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about here in our tip of the week, is to go from a 120 average to probably a 200 average on a house shot now at least. You had to do more than just practice.
Yes, we did a lot of drills. Even in college, we do a lot of drills. They can help work on different parts of your game, whether it's the release, timing, position of maybe like your left arm for balance.
So what's like probably the most important drill you've done?
I would say for me the foul line drill, because the release is something I've struggled with. Even now I'm still working on it after years of bowling. But for me it really helps break down my release in the one small segment to work on it.
Show us the foul line drill and kind of walk us through what you're doing when you get to the foul line.
My bowling ball. We're going to walk all the way up here.
Yeah, the foul line drill, you actually go up to the foul line.
I get in my finished position here, and then I like to swing it just a little forward, back.
So what are you doing there when you let it go?
I'm just practicing my release. So for me, I've been really trying to stay behind the ball instead of what I guess a lot of people would say chicken arming it, or I guess turning too early. So for me, this really helps me get in this one part where the release is so important to just come straight through.
That is a great tip for everybody, because I think most people struggle with either turning the ball a little too early or getting a little too much on the side of it or even on top of it, is to stay behind the ball as long as you can and let the ball do the work for you. These modern bowling balls are built to hook, and if you just let the weight block do what it's meant to do, it's going to make the ball hook for you. So the foul line drill is a great way to practice it.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, the team of Hunter Moffat and Jake Malick put up a brave fight, but 5 open frames proved costly, and they were never quite able to string the strikes they needed at the end to close the gap and put some pressure on their opponents. So, Bolin Nolan and Marquise have climbed the stepladder and now find themselves in the championship match against Anthony Smiga and Josh Greenberg. Anthony gets no pins handicap, and Josh's single game handicap is 36, which divided by 2 is 18. So Anthony and Josh's team handicap is 18. Meanwhile, we know from the previous 2 matches that Nolan and Marquise have a 35-pin team handicap. 35 minus 18 leaves 17, and that's the handicap differential. So here in the championship match, Anthony and Josh will be spotting Nolan and Marquise 17 pins in handicap differential. We'll add those 17 pins into their score in the very first frame, so you don't have to add a thing. As each of the other 3 teams have done, Anthony and Josh have elected to have the junior varsity player, in this case Josh, throw the first ball on the odd-numbered frames, and they've opted to start the match. So Josh Greenberg will have the opening toss in this championship match. breaks sharply at the end and goes through the nose. Josh leaves the 3-6-10. Anthony with a very interesting approach to choosing which lane they're going to bowl on. I'll tell you more about it here in a sec. He covers the 3-6-10. He deferred to what his partner liked. In other words, he asked Josh, which lane are you more comfortable on? He figured he could probably bowl on either lane, so he wanted his little partner to have his choice of lanes. Oh my goodness. Well, how often do you see the left-hander's washout left by a right-hander? The 1-3-6-7. It's not as hard as it looks. You just throw it like a strike. Put the ball in the 1-3 pocket. The 3 will get the 6. 1 should get the 7. But Nolan, wide of the head pin, leaves a couple. So you see we've added their handicap pins in. They had 8 out plus the 17 pins handicap differential they're getting from Josh and Anthony. That gives them 25 in the first frame. Well, Nolan finds the pocket that time, but the 10 pin stubbornly refuses to go. Let's see how Marquise does with his two-handed approach, shooting at the right corner pin. Oh, he's got a little backup ball. I didn't know he had that shot. How about that one? All right. That's how you do it. Crunch. Anthony sends the pins running for cover. Watch this. Light hit. He's going to shred the rack with this one. Shrapnel flying everywhere. All right, Josh, see what you can do, buddy. Oh, my goodness. That did not look that high. But he leaves the 4-7-10. The pins don't lie. Got to slide the 4 across the lane into the 10. And I don't know what that was, but Anthony checking his shoe. That's the pro move. Always check your shoe on a bad shot. It's probably the lane, not you. All right, Marquise. Well, when he was bowling on the left lane in the last match, he was playing the lane differently. He was playing it more toward the left side, more toward the center of the lane. Now that he's back on the right lane, he's playing more out toward the right side where the lane is drier and it's hooking more on him. And Nolan doesn't quite cover the spare, so that's another open frame, and their lead has shrunk down to just 2 pins. I think if Marquise were to move back left with his feet on the right lane, play more toward the center of the lane where there's some oil in the middle of the lane, he won't see his ball taking off to the left so early. Nolan turned around. He didn't like that one as soon as he let it go. I think he missed his target a couple of boards to the right, but because it's the house shot, it recovered. He was in the pocket, left the 10. Let's see if Marquise can do it again. Get over. Oh, almost. He just needs to practice that shot a little more. I think he'll have that down. All right, Josh and Anthony now with the lead. And Anthony just drives through the pins. They have no chance. See it again. You'll want to stand back or you're liable to get sucked in by the backdraft. Like a vacuum sweeper just sucking them off the back of the pin deck. And look at Josh. He goes high flush. And I'll tell you what, in these Scotch Doubles matches, a double is huge. You don't see that many of them. That's as good a ball as you'll ever see him throw. And he knew it too. All right, Marquise, answer the bell. No! Well, you know, the ball has been hooking so far to the left for him on that right lane. He might have been thinking he just needed to aim it a little farther to the right. He just doesn't quite know yet the best way to make that adjustment is not to throw the ball farther to the right. It's to move farther left with your feet and play more in the center of the lane where there's some oil. But he'll learn. Nolan for the spare. But it hits flat, and Nolan leaves the 5-7, and I don't know if all the play down the center of the lane with the plastic ball. Marquise is throwing one. I think Josh is throwing either plastic or urethane, maybe having a little carry-down effect. And it's going to affect Nolan more than it affects Anthony because Nolan's a lower rev player. Might want to keep our eyes out for that. All right, 6-pin. Marquise, you need this one, buddy. But it's not to be. He's wide with that one, and the lead grows to 42 for Josh and Anthony, and they are in the driver's seat now. And they are in a race car driving down the oval. Anthony just floored it. See you later. Josh, can you keep it going? Pretty good shot. In the pocket, just didn't quite snap out the corner pin. But I would imagine Anthony will have no problem making the 10-pin and preserving this 51-pin lead they have. Well, Marquise, it's time to pull a rabbit out of your hat. It's a better shot. Played it more toward the center of the lane. It didn't hook all the way to the left side, but I'll tell you what, you could give me $1 for every time I've seen a right-hander leave the 6-8 combo, and I still wouldn't have enough for lunch. The 6-8-10. It can be made, and here's how. Nolan will go cross lane at it, try to put the ball right on the 10-pin. Well, when it rains, it pours. That is 7 frames and 1 mark. And that is a recipe for getting whooped. And once again, I talked about it earlier, maybe a little carry down on this pair of lanes with the plastic balls and think Josh may be throwing urethane, maybe pushing some oil down the center of the lane. Let's see if Marquise can make the 5-pin. Oh, man. You just can't buy one sometimes. And I believe that will do it. Anthony with a ripper in the 8th frame, and that slams the door. Emphatically. Watch this. Josh and Anthony are your winners of the 2019 Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout. And I'm not sure Josh is big enough to carry the big honkin' frozen butterball turkey that he's just won. Each player on the team will get one. But the good news for Marquise and Nolan is the second prize, the frozen little butterball. It's not that little. It's almost as big as the one Josh and Anthony are getting. Marquise, you got nothing to be ashamed of, buddy. You bowled well today. Bowled well during league to get to the top 4. And you made a couple of key shots during the stepladder finals. Marquise and Nolan ham and egged it pretty good until they ran into a buzzsaw with Josh and Anthony. There's a solid strike by Nolan in the 10th. And now Marquise will throw the next shot. Pretty good ball there. Not sure what has him playing more toward the center of the lane on the left lane and more toward the right gutter on the right lane, but I'd say it cost him today. So it's going to be 129 for Marquise and Nolan. And Anthony, I believe he has struck every single time he's been up today on that right lane. A strike in the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 10th. Can't ask him to do much more than that. The only open frame they have is the 3rd. When Josh had that 4-7-10 and it didn't look like his ball was that high. Other than that, they're going to finish with a clean game. And now Josh has left the 1-3-6-9. Now, if he happens to miss this, it doesn't count as an open frame because it's just a fill ball. So it's still almost a clean game. Just one open frame. And a 202 to 129 victory for our winners. But today, everybody's a winner. And we'll hand out the meat when we return to Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Right after this. Hey, Prodigy Land, it's me, Coach Randy. You know, in recent weeks, you may have seen a lot of videos popping up on YouTube talking about YouTube's new terms of service and the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, and something called COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. A lot of YouTube content creators are freaking out right about now over how this change could affect their ability to earn a living from their work creating quality children's programming. Making money has never been my primary motivation for producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour. And it's a good thing, because if it was my primary reason for doing it, it would be a huge disappointment. I get about $300 a month from Google AdSense from those ads you see that run before the video starts playing. And that's one of the reasons I invite fans of the show to become Prodigy patrons through patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. By committing just $5 a month, you get early access to all our shows, and for a measly $10 a month, you get early access and you get your name listed in the credits at the end of the show as an executive producer. Still, even with our Prodigy patrons, my total earnings from Prodigy has never topped about $600 or $700 in a single month, in a good month. Given the 35 to 40 hours I spend working on the show each week, I'd make more per hour by flipping burgers at McDonald's. But I do Prodigy because I love doing it. What I don't love is having the federal government or YouTube questioning why I do it or deciding for me who I do it for. Prodigy Bowlers Tour has never been a children's show in my mind. Now, understand, in the context of the FTC and COPPA, a child-directed show is one that is programmed for kids under the age of 13. And while Prodigy certainly has a few kids under 13 who bowl on the show occasionally, the show is as much for their parents as it is for the kids themselves. And most of the kids you see bowling on Prodigy are well over the age of 13. So it's never really been a children's show in my mind. And now we learn that YouTube hasn't even been quite as honest with creators as they could have been. By forcing us to self-designate whether we make our videos for kids or for adults, YouTube has completely ignored a mixed-use designation that is clearly in the COPPA law. Prodigy Bowlers Tour is for viewers of all ages, and I hear from viewers of all ages all the time, from grandpas like me to young adults to teenagers and the occasional preteen. Most of the preteen viewers I've heard from watch the show with their parents. Honestly, one of my favorite things about Prodigy is how it brings families together. So with the future of revenue from these videos very much in doubt, thanks to the changes that are coming from YouTube, the FTC, and COPPA, I'd like to invite you once again to become a Prodigy patron. Log on to www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour and sign up. It's easy and inexpensive, and you'll be supporting a show that is watched by lots of families who support this awesome sport that we love. And in so doing, you'll help me stay in the game regardless of what happens with COPPA, the FTC, and YouTube. Thanks for watching Prodigy Bowlers Tour and for being part of Prodigy Nation. And if you're a Prodigy patron already, thanks. So there you go. The 2019 Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout is in the books. Nolan Kemp and Marquise Burrell won the first two matches to climb from third to second. But in the championship match, they ran into a buzzsaw in Anthony Smiga and Josh Greenberg, who were not to be denied. So Anthony and Josh, our number one seeds going into the stepladder finals today, finished the day as champions. But all four of our teams are winners, and everyone leaves today with a bird of their own. So let's go down lane side for the foul presentation.
Okay. Starting with our fourth place finishers, Margot and Alyssa. You get the tiny little Cornish hen for fourth place. Smile to the camera. Don't run off yet, we're going to get a quick shot. Our third place finishers, Jake Malick and Hunter Moffat. You get the turkey breast. There's your trophy. And there's your trophy. Smile for the camera. All right. will be in the handle back. Our runners up.
Nice job.
Second place. That's got to be Marquise and Nolan, whichever one you want. Second place, way to go. Say hello to the world. And the 2019 Roswell Varsity and Junior Varsity Meatheads of the Year. First place, Anthony Smita and Josh Greenberg with the big honkin' frozen butterball turkey. Way to go.
But wait, there's more.
It's the 2019 Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout Meatheads of the Year. Anthony Smita and Josh Greenberg. And there is one other bit of business that goes along with this, and it is the signing of the coveted trophy pin. So Josh, take it away, young fellow. Is this your, yeah, it's a lot lighter than the turkey. So very good, very good. And Anthony, you bowled splendidly today. And as our number one seed, you fended off some pretty awesome challengers in Nolan and Marquise. It is 11/23/2019. And Anthony, this is your second time signing it this year, I believe.
It is.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to our runners-up, Marquise and Bolin Nolan. They just came up a little short. And next year when you win, you can sign the coveted trophy pin. But today, these two guys are our winners. Congratulations.
Our leagues are off Thanksgiving weekend, so there will be no new Prodigy taped over the holiday weekend. But the good news for you is we have another episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour already in the can. We taped a show on November 16th that hasn't yet been released, and we'll release it next week. So look for episode 111, The Return of the Prodigal Sons, the week after Thanksgiving. But for now, all the Prodigy kids and I want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week with another edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour.